Hi, my name is Taylor Douglas, and my capstone project was designed to improve the quality of domestic violence care available in my home, Flagstaff, Arizona. For the last 7 years, I've had a passion for raising awareness and helping people who've been trapped or enslaved by abusers who wish to do them harm. When I was a sophomore in high school, my parents showed me a movie called Nefarious that taught me about the prevalence and severity of human trafficking in the world. The documentary mostly covered the industry of sex trafficking, talking about the lives of the women and children who've been trapped inside of it. Having control over my own life and autonomy has always been important to me, so I was shocked to find out that there were people who had everything taken away from them. It was difficult for me to imagine myself in their shoes, and it also made me want to do something to help, so as soon as I saw an opportunity to do so, I took it. During my senior year in high school, my graduating class was assigned to do a 30-minute presentation in front of the school on a topic of our choice. I chose to cover human trafficking. It was an opportunity for me to spread awareness about a subject that not very many people know about, and it also furthered my own dedication to trying to make a difference. Since then, I've delved into other topics that affect people's freedoms. During my second year at NAU, I wrote a paper about the ways pornography damages both relationships and people in the industry. It's important to me because these are still more people who've lost control of their lives. A lot of people who watch pornography struggle with addiction, and the people who are involved in the industry often lose their human rights because they're turned into objects. Now, in my last year of college, I wanted to cover one more branch of dehumanization: domestic violence. Perhaps even more than the subjects I've covered so far, domestic violence is extremely prevalent in the United States. More than 25% of Americans are affected, which means if you put 4 people together in a room, chances are one of them has been abused in the past. Now let me guess. Out of the people you may have imagined, the one who was abused was most likely a woman. Well, you may actually not have been correct, because the truth is that domestic violence affects both women and men at an almost equal rate. And the cases involving male victims are sometimes more tragic than those involving females, because when men try to report domestic violence to the police, they're often ignored and discredited. One other group I'd like to cover in my project is Native Americans. Studies show that almost 80% of Native American women experience domestic violence. This is very important to me because in Flagstaff there is a large population of Navajo people, which means there is very likely a pressing need for domestic violence resources. Because domestic violence is just as common in Flagstaff as anywhere else, if not more so because of our Navajo population, having more and better resources to offer victims is crucial in fighting back against the issue. My shelter will provide a safe place to which victims can escape from their abusers. It will be a place where they can have peace of mind, knowing that they're safe, and find the resources that they need to get back on their feet. This is important because being in a shelter is often the first step in many survivors' journeys to regaining control of their lives. It gives them the opportunity to rediscover what it means to take control of their lives so they don't have to fall back on their abusers for help once they move on. I also want to make sure that resources are provided for male victims. In my shelter, I've tried to make it very clear that domestic violence isn't just a woman's issue, it's a people issue. So I'm going to make sure that I accommodate 100% of the people who may show up at my shelter rather than just 50%. Another reason why this shelter is necessary is because there are very few options for shelter currently existing in Flagstaff. Most of them are on the east side of town. That's why I made the decision to put my shelter in the heart of downtown Flagstaff to accommodate all of the West Siders who may have otherwise had trouble getting access to resources. To accomplish everything I needed to in this shelter, the space has been divided up into 4 clear sections. The first of these is the administrative wing, located to the left of the ground floor level. This is where the office spaces are, the break room, a conference room, and a few different storage areas, including a donation closet that staff workers will need access to, but anyone else staying in the shelter may not need to touch. The next section is the public area, located in the center of the ground floor level. This room has been divided up into a lot of different spaces, including a kitchen where survivors can cook their own meals, and a yoga room where they can relax and work on their mental health. The third section is the male wing, located on the north part of the building. This is where all of the bedrooms are and other spaces that only male victims have access to. And the last section is the female and family wing that takes up the entire upper level of the building. Now, when a new user comes into the shelter to be admitted, they enter through the reception in the southwest corner of the building. Applying a wellness-based approach, the reception is designed to help admittees and visitors relax with biophilic elements that can be seen throughout the rest of the space as well. A green wall takes up the room at the back, drawing the eye forward, and the rest of the space is defined by warm wood tones such as the baffle ceiling, the hardwood floor, and the tone on the doors. Although it's been designed to be welcoming, the reception is also fully secure. A lot of domestic violence shelters face threats from outsiders on a regular basis. Because of this, I needed to make sure that this room is not a weak point in the shelter where someone who isn't supposed to be there can get in. One way that I did this was by secluding the room. Unlike a lot of commercial buildings, domestic violence shelters don't need very public receptions. This is only where people come to be screened to get into the shelter. Another point that I needed to bring up is the key code entry doors. Even the very front door has a code on it, so no one can get in unless they are permitted by the receptionist. The windows are also bulletproof in this room as well as the rest of the shelter to keep the receptionist safe before someone is screened to come in. Once a woman or a man is admitted to the shelter, they will use the main entrance to get inside the building for as long as they stay. It's located on the north wall and opens into a large lobby-like area that will give them their first impression of the shelter. The entrance is defined by biophilic elements just like the reception is. The most prominent of these is the indoor garden just to the right of the door. The center part is professionally landscaped, so it always looks attractive to the people who walk inside. The strip closer to the wall, however, is designed for the residents to use personally. Studies have shown that gardening has a positive effect on mental well-being, so I wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity for those who are interested to be able to garden at their own free will. The other biophilic elements in the perspective that can be seen is the stone floor and the wood on the ceiling. The entrance is also designed to encourage survivors to take steps towards empowerment by finding their way around the building without needing help from staff. The stairs and elevator are in view directly from the door, not visible in the perspective, but in line of sight of the silhouette woman who is walking towards them. There's also clear division between the public space, which is off further to the left, and the administrative section, which is off to the right where the silhouette man is walking. Moving further into the space, both male and female survivors will have access to a communal area that's been designed to emulate a home. There's a variety of seating options available, such as bar stools, a dining set, a semicircular seating arrangement, and even a living room-like area with a TV where they can gather to spend time in each other's company. The purpose of this area is to encourage victims to forge community with others who've been through similar trauma as they have. Studies have shown that it helps them recover from common symptoms like PTSD, anxiety, and depression. It also helps them regain a sense of normalcy by forging relationships with people in a similar manner as they would have before their abusers may have taken that ability away from them. Although this area's main purpose is to forge community, it does not sacrifice the security needs that domestic violence shelters generally need. Off to the right, you can see a window that leads directly into the staff room, where staff workers are stationed 24 hours a day to monitor activity so that they can respond quickly in case conflict arises within the shelter itself. And additionally, security cameras are placed in all public spaces, including this one, so that the staff workers can respond to crises that may not occur within their direct line of sight. Another important room to point out in this space is the computer room, located just above the common space in my diagram. Not all shelters in Flagstaff have one, but they're extremely helpful to survivors who need access to technology. Being able to contact employers and landlords is essential in giving domestic violence victims control over their lives. Imagine being stuck in a place where you couldn't communicate with the outside world at all. You wouldn't be able to search for jobs or housing, and you wouldn't be able to talk to your friends and family. Technology is such a necessity in our modern-day world that a lack of it is a barrier for survivors of domestic violence to move forward and find the tools and resources that they need to move on from their abusers after they move out of the shelter. That's why, even though this room looks plain, it's one of the most important elements that I decided to include in this project. Moving upstairs, the next area I want to point out is the female communal space. It's located in the center of the building so that everyone who enters through the main stairs or elevator will see it as soon as they step into the female wing. There's already a common space downstairs for both male and female victims, but it's also important to have a space where women who don't feel comfortable around men can socialize with their own sex. The same goes for men who don't feel comfortable around women because of their history of being abused. Gender separation gives peace of mind to victims who've been so traumatized by their partners that they don't feel comfortable being around the opposite sex at all. While having a private bedroom that they can call their own personal space is important, isolation has adverse effects on mental health recovery. This is why it's important for them to still be able to socialize at the shelter while they're staying. So having female and male only spaces is the solution that I've come up with to making sure that everyone who comes to stay at the shelter has the same opportunities to form social connections. The last room that's important for me to point out is the children's play area in the female wing upstairs. In Flagstaff, it's common for women to come to domestic violence shelters with their kids, so I included a space where kids could be kept occupied while they stay at the shelter. To keep from causing stress to women without kids, the room is located in the middle of the family wing. Every room that surrounds it has been designated as a family bedroom for mothers with children. The purpose of this is to create a bit of a sound buffer so that any noise that the children make doesn't reach the single rooms quite as easily. In addition, the room is designed to promote imagination with painted walls, educational rugs, and interesting shapes on the ceiling and in the shape of the walls that are asymmetrical across from each other. It also includes a separate area for older kids and teens to use at the back. Studies show that adolescents do better in shelters when they have some privacy and freedom to be away from parents and young children so they can have some sense of independence. Combining all the elements and features meant to promote mental health and rehabilitation, this shelter is well equipped to handle the needs of domestic violence survivors who come to stay here. The biophilic elements incorporated throughout promote mental health. The male victims who come to stay here are cared for with abundant resources that are equal to the resources that are provided to female victims, and the security measures that are in place throughout the building give everyone peace of mind that they are safe when they stay here. Taking control of one's own life should be a human right. By using this shelter, domestic violence survivors will be empowered to move forward from the trauma they never should have faced and reach the potential they've always had within them from the start.